entire scene's just all beat down. What was the real story?
She was trained to do what she did in Miles Horton's Highlander Folk School, which actually trained social justice change agents in Gandhian nonviolent ways of knocking up against power. So, and the conversation happened right there in the halls of the NAACP that this young woman probably they misread her, because I believe she had the strength just by standing up, but she was switched by a matronly woman. So here again, we're withholding info because there's a lot of power, and like I said earlier, it's young people that have made change.
The story of the Highlander School reminds me a lot of what we're doing right now. Folks coming together in situations like this, with people with lots of experience organizing, and people who have lots of youth and vision, and aren't scared, are right, and saying, yeah, let's take some bold stands. And those people coming together and sharing their stories and their knowledge, and that's what made the civil rights movement. And Ella Baker, like her biography talks about how in 1960, there were a bunch of young students, not too different than yourselves, who were like, man, this civil rights movement, it's not moving fast enough for me. These tactics of having big marches in Washington, that's not bringing justice fast enough for me. What are we going to, and talking to their friends and be like, okay, what are we going to do? Let's not do that. Let's come up with our own generation's tactic, our own voice. Let's tell our own story. And so they decided they were going to do the sit-in in 1960 in Greensboro, North Carolina, and they didn't say, hey, W.B. Du Bois, like, will the NAACP support this? They didn't say, hey, Martin Luther King, will the Southern Christian Leadership Conference support this? They just went and they did it. And when they did that, they just unleashed it all. Like, everything changed. The script just flipped. Suddenly they had all the organizers in the country being like, how can we support you? And I kind of feel like that's what's happening right now, you know? And that's what's so amazing about this moment and what you're doing for Burlington, you know, for all these folks down here in Burlington. So I'm going to wrap up, but before I do, I want to do one quick exercise where we could break out into several small groups, and maybe we could pair off with folks that we don't know too well, and even if we are with folks that we do know, try to be kind of serious and really get into it. And the idea is we take on the role of someone who's trying to stop a social movement. What's a social movement? Anyone have any ideas? Yeah, so a social movement would be in that relationship, high class, low class, trying to get justice. Right? So you can think of like civil rights, abolitionist movement, peace movement, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, or the shack dwellers movement in South Africa, which is a really awesome movement, but not too many folks know it. But there's tons of examples of people, everyday people, struggling to get justice. And when I teach my classes at Burlington College, what I teach about is that that's more effective than politicians in getting change. That real change comes from below, from people like us coming together, organizing, and putting demands on the system. That's how it's always happened. It wasn't because Lyndon Baines Johnson, a Republican from Texas, wanted to pass the Civil Rights Act. It's because folks in this room came together and made him. It wasn't because Richard Nixon, who was such an environmentalist that he wanted to sign the Clean Air and Clean Water Act, because folks like us came together and made him. So if we could just break out real quick, maybe think about a social movement that you're involved in, or one that you would like to see happen, and then try and take the other side of it. Try and take the side of the people who are really powerful, and what would they do to stop you? Make it really specific. Like, if I'm in Burlington and I'm trying to get fair housing, affordable housing, Maybe powerful people who are trying to stop me would be who? People who... What's that?
Who own the property?
Yeah. This is gonna be so easy. People who own the property, the landlords, you know, the rich folks who own it all, who I have rent from, and pay way too much of my living to rent from. So take that same sort of, for this one, pretend you're the landlord. For this one, pretend you're the people at the top, and think about all the ways that you'd stop this social movement. Okay? Which is kind of evil. Like, it makes me feel, I need to take a shower. But so can we do that? Can we break down to like